make a quick driver change as well, and we're back in the booth and glad to be here. A gorgeous day. Taylor leading, and the 912 of Patrick Long leading in GTLM. GT Daytona, Madison Snow, and in Prototype Challenge, Bruno Junqueira. You ride on board right now with Jordan Taylor.
Got to give a shout out to Calvin and Dorsey for that Demon 9-minute stint they did.
That was spectacular.
Dorsey's getting an IV now, trying to get his fluids replenished. Obviously, these are the peculiarities of doing all these shows together. So bear with us if it seems a little odd, but the racing is not. Well, the race has been a little odd too with that big collision in pit lane. But Jordan Taylor showing, not showing him his heels. It's 0.6 of a second, so it's close.
Take us around for a lap with Jordan.
Here in the turn one, just incredibly fast. Click down a gear, big compression. Fight the car back to the right. You got to straighten the car up as much as you can here. Not exactly straight braking here up and over the curb, but as I say that, we've got some more information from the pits. Andrew?
Yeah, I remember the 88 car, the PC. Johnny Molam took it, I think, from qualifying 8 right to the front of the PC field in the early going. Tom Papadopoulos got in it. It's been a bittersweet weekend because for Tom, I understand he has crashed the car in his house. I spoke to Tom yesterday, and Tom's a big dealer of exotic cars up in New York. And while he was sitting during practice yesterday on the computer, he sold 2 expensive cars, very expensive cars. So I think he'll need the profit to pay for the damage he's done.
How much money did you make online yesterday?
$6. But while we were on board, while Andrew was talking, one of the Vipers looked like it was off the pace exiting turn 6. So we're going to try to run that down for you. See if he was just momentarily slowed up.
Check in on the 91 with Chris.
Well, Brian, I was just checking in with Bill Riley when Ryan Hunter-Reay came over the radio and said, hey, something is not right with this car. Bill Riley telling him, hey, is it just pickup? We just went back to green, concerned that it might be pickup on the tires, and he needed to get them cleaned off. But Ryan Hunter-Reay saying, no, it's not pickup. They looked at air pressures, so the air pressures on the Michelin tires right now looking good, but Bill Riley deciding to bring this Viper to pit lane to try and take a little bit deeper look.
Pickup is the rubber that gets thrown off to the side, and then you get it picked back up on the hot tire, makes the tire out of balance. So it would tell me that Ryan feels some type of a vibration.
Either a vibration or just, just
lack
of grip. So the clag that you hear David Hobbs talk so much about, the little rolled up bits of rubber, when the hot tires run over that, they pick that stuff up, and sometimes it takes a while to scrub off.
So the 91 in the pits.
And Brian, Bill Riley telling the team, hey, before you take these wheels off, let's make sure to give them a good shake, see if there's anything wrong with the suspension, especially the right front right now. He's telling the team, move that wheel up and down, try and see if there's something wrong with the suspension. It looks like there's some debris in there too. Yeah, Bill Riley right now up on the wall, really telling this team exactly what to do, trying to deal with some body work that is loose on the car, and really figure out what Ryan Hunter-Reay is feeling right now in this Viper.
That might be why there's some loose body work off at the exit of 12.
Wow, you don't want to do that. You can tell the car was bouncing a little bit more. Could have been low pressures. There is a big bump in the middle of that. It didn't look like he hit the curb.
Looked like he was unsighted, not unsighted, offline a little bit because of the chrome car coming down the hill, but you know what? He held it straight, but he is carrying a lot of responsibility this weekend. Doesn't matter the fact that you're a stellar IndyCar star. When you're coming in as the 3rd long-distance driver to support a championship run, you have an awful lot of pressure on your plate. And to run wide there, right in front of the team boss and the all-assembled Dodge SRT Glitterati, that could have been a bad place to go off.
And this is a great battle. You ride on board the 01 right now with Scott Pruitt looking forward. You saw just moments ago the blue number 90 Spirit of Daytona Corvette with Michael Valiente behind the wheel, really pressuring the Delta Wing. That's the 42 right now in front of Pruitt, several laps down because of the problems they had earlier. But watch the Delta Wing pull away from Valiente down the straightaway. That narrow frontal area really makes that car a dart down the straightaway.
Yeah, I mean, the people in the paddock say jokingly they call it the lawn dart, but I mean, it's not, Catherine said it's lighter, so it's more efficient, easier on tires. It's not just lighter. The engine is incredibly small. I mean, it really is a boost in efficiency in terms that's making that car work, just a total rethink of what a car is, and it generates incredible performance with half the power, half the tire.
A lot of dust there at the exit of turn 12 where Ryan Hunter-Reay had his problem, Chris.
Well, Bill Riley checking in with the team, talking with the engineers behind the box. Bill, we could see there's a tire there that was coming apart. Any idea why that tire coming apart?
Well, I don't think the tire came apart at all. I think we must have run something over and it kind of tore the car up, and then something must have touched the tire. So, but we got it all fixed now. We ripped off some debris out of the car, so it should be okay. I don't think there'll be a big setback. I hate to lose a lap, but we'll get it back. It's a long ways to go.
Yeah, long ways to go. Hopefully, I'm sure we'll get a couple more cautions here, and hopefully these guys can get back on the lead lap.
Tell you who's flying and wants to get back on the lead lap is the number 42, open tongue behind the wheel right now. Only one lap off the leaders, that beautiful 42 Ligier prototype. There's Ryan Hunter-Reay running off at the exit. Question is, was the tire cut down or damaged before turn 12, or was it the off in turn 12 that did the damage?
I'm pretty sure it was the right front. When the right front came off, I could see a big, what looked like a flat spot or a D-lam, and so that was on the right front. I think so, and that wheel never went off.
A D-lam, a delamination.
Delamination, yes.
Just to follow up quickly again, 42 has set the fastest lap of the race. So,
yellow, pits are closed.
and another full course caution called. We as of yet have not seen where that is, but there it is. The 38 PC car in turn 7 has hit the wall with relatively accomplished force there, I think, Tommy.
Yeah, it looks like he hit the tires and just passed the end of the tires.
Driver is obviously okay. You can see his hands and head moving there. That's the first thing everyone wants to see.
I'm confused with where this car is.
Exit of turn 7.
But,
where the
well,
tires
yeah,
end.
that I know, but if you notice, he's kind of over past a little cut, and it looks like it's to driver's left. Maybe it's a perception thing, but
Did he hit the wall? Did he hit the wall?
See the marks there?
Did you get to the wall or no? Oh, but not terribly hard.
I'm guessing he spun one way and went back the other way. And
yeah, maybe so, because it's an odd place to be. I do see the marks back this way, but there's so many skid marks at the exit of 7. It's hard to tell who they belong to. This will give us a better idea. You know what, he goes around 360 up against the wall. And the reason why I was saying I was confused is the tire wall sticks out further there than the concrete wall, but he's tucked in
looks like he almost
behind the
backed
tire
in,
wall. So he's come in there from across the racetrack at a pretty steep angle.
Close call for the Porsche.
Close call for the Porsche, but what's funny is when you are looking at safety on a racetrack, I've talked to some of the safety crews, you stand there and you go, well, no one ever could reach this part of the track.
And that's where you need to put the tire wall.
And Brian and I have spent, and probably you as well, Tommy, or maybe you're a bit more intelligent and successful, but we spent too much time with other people driving us around racetracks, and they can reach the outer reaches of darker space that no man has ever ventured to before. And that was a case of that.
Well, they've sent the truck to get him, but they don't need it because he's pulled away.
There are no cars. Now, there you go, bud.
So heading back to the pits.
Stay out.
So now he's staying out. So unfortunately, we've gone full course caution.
And there's a procedure they
And
need
there
to
is a
follow,
procedure.
so more waiting. Now this could be good for the Viper and the Vet that is trying to get laps back, where depending on how this plays out, every time there's a yellow, depending on how, he's off the track again, depending on how it plays out,
So he's staying out, but he had a problem again. It'll be interesting to see if he has some type of steering problem. But talk about problems, team who hadn't had very many all year long. The 54, he says there's no steering at all. The 54 has had a great season. John Bennett, Colin Brown wrapped up their Drivers' Championship at Circuit of the Americas, and they have had a fantastic season. They're looking for even more things here this weekend.
Great season, you know, for us in the PC class. I mean, to win Daytona, Sebring, the 6 hours of the Glen, all in the same year was amazing. I mean, that's something I wanted to do, and we all wanted to do in our careers, let alone do it in 1 year.
We had a very, very good season, and very happy to clinch the Drivers' Championship for all of us last race at COTA, and just it's a fitting tribute to all the hard work that we put in.
Well, they could do a clean sweep of the Tequila Patrón North American Endurance Cup events if they won here. Oh, what is going on there?
I don't think someone, mainly in the PC car, was focusing on the GT car, just trying to slide by behind. But Why would he be allowed to go by under full course yellow? That was a very strange.
Well, and this is strange. They're trying to get the wave around sorted out, but look at the confusion back here.
And this, fortunately, it's sometimes if they slow down this much and they were down in the dip, you could have cars coming over and see a clear road, and then just see the road blocked. Fortunately, they had good sight there, but that's one of the things. If you have a really big slowdown, you get cars trying to catch up that have made pit stops and so forth, and that can be bad. Yeah, there's definitely some confusion here about wave around. What happens? There's a very clear procedure where they say initiate pass around, and the cars that are on the lead lap pull to the left, the other guys go to the right, and they're supposed to go past.
I understand there's a broken toe link in the 38, and that's why we heard the driver say, I have absolutely no steering. I guess he couldn't get it back across the racetrack to get to pit in after he had the problem at 10B, because if he had that steering problem there, you'd want to come straight home, but he proceeded around the rest of the racetrack.
Another possible explanation I noticed on the side of that car dash, which is, I don't know why I know it, but that's the Kardashian store. So what you and I would think is logical might not necessarily apply in this case.
Just saying?
Just saying.
Thank you for that insight. How do you know that that's the Kardashian store?
Because Bruce Jenner is a former racer friend of mine. How about that?
I hear you. You shop there, Justin?
No, I just think of knowing more about Tommy's personal shopping habits just is too much for me.
Talk about confusion under caution. It's one of the Flying Lizard Audis. First one that went by, I think that's the 35. Stack up. That was the stack up that you talked about.
Talking about.
He got caught out by the car slowing down in front. Is that Dorsey?
Looked like.
No, that's not Dorsey.
Nick K.
Is it Evel Knievel? No.
He's got the Rose Princess wave down.
Yeah, he does.
He does. I think he's confused.
Yeah, the need help thing, there's not a lot of doubt about that. I'm not sure what kind of help, though.
Evil's rolling over in his grave.
He really is.
We have a broken toe link in the car, so bring it in nice and easy.
Obviously, that radio communication from a short time ago as the car sits stationary in its pit, and there seems to be no real hurry to get it sorted out. There's the 911 on board with Patrick Pilet. He certainly has had an exciting day, and surprised he wants to look down at the dash again. I saw him look down just then.
But you know, I was thinking about it because I've been receiving some tweets from people saying, you know, about the seatbelts and the lights and things, and then you heard Doug Feehan say that, yeah, he was adjusting the belts, but generally you don't look down to do the belts because it's just there. But often you look down because they'll be telling you on the radio as you leave, don't forget, reset fuel, and whatever else they do on it, but reset fuel being the most important one, and you do look down to do that.
Oh, there's an entire procedure. When you say reset fuel,
I mean,
explain to everybody at home.
So you have a counter in the car that will be telling you how many liters per lap you've been using, and if you don't reset it to 0, well, the telemetry generally is overriding that, and they have a real-time one. A couple of years ago, they didn't. If you didn't reset it, the calculations were all off. But it's a pretty important thing to reset. So everything's, giving you the up-to-date data as you leave the pit. So that's what you generally look down for, and you don't need to do that until you leave the pit.
I think the other thing that Doug said was the procedure of closing pit out and how it's done. There's no yellow, then red, and certainly that would bring a whole nother officiating problem into it. But when it does go red so quickly, and while I say that, you also rode on board with Pierre Capper, who looked very calm pulling up to the red light. He knew it was there. I think it was a race to see about position. Chris?
Well, Brian, we got lots of action in pit lane, just about all classes. Some cars coming in, the leaders coming in the 5 and the 10. Jordan Taylor staying in the 10 car. Fuel Continental tires on that car, the 5 car. Sebastian Bourdais taking over for Christian Fittipaldi, who has now won the championship and beating the 10 car off pit lane.
Spirit of Race Ferrari, number 49, going through their pit stop. The number 60 prototype from Mike Shank Racing leading the 01 from Ganassi down pit road. There's the 90, the blue Corvette from Spirit of Daytona.
Now you see all the classes pitting together. This is part of that, I believe, that expedited pitting procedure with the congestion on pit road. I wasn't sure they were still going to do that here, but obviously that's one of the rare occasions under yellow where you see all the cars together, and that's part of trying to shorten the yellows to get back to green. So that's one of the areas that, you know, like at Sebring this year, it was just painful, the length of the yellows, and they've worked hard to try to compress those as much as they can.
Christian Fittipaldi will be able to celebrate another championship to go along with his Formula 3000 championship. Chris?
Well, he's already celebrating down here. Immediately got out of the car, high-fiving the team, hugs from everybody. Christian, you did your mandatory time, and you get a championship now to share with Joao Barbosa.
Oh, definitely. It's a great pleasure, a great honor to be part of this team, to be driving together with him the whole season. It couldn't have been better. Like, we're so relieved. We're very, very happy. And now I think it's time to go racing. There's still a long race ahead of us. It's very tight. It's very hard, but we won the championship, the driver championship. We won the team championship. Now we're going to try and get the race win and the Patrón Endurance Championship.
Yeah, really an incredible year for you guys. Now let's just talk about this race. That 10 car is very fast, and listening to you on the radio, it sounds like you'd like a little bit more rear grip. You guys continuing to try and find that?
No, he was fast, and I think on the first stint I did, he was a good amount better than us. The second stint I did, we closed the gap on him, and on this last stint I did, we were all the time right behind him. The car was just improving all the time. We were making changes. We're definitely going in the right direction and setting ourselves up for the last couple of hours of the race.
Yeah, and like I said, Sebastian Bourdais now behind the wheel, and he ran with this team back at Sebring.
Well, and anytime you drop him in the seat of a car, you don't really have to worry about it. I was talking to Joao about it the other day. I said, how many laps did it take for him to get up to speed? And he just kind of laughed and said, we don't really have to worry about that.
I was gonna say, it's nice to have your third is four-time Champ Car IndyCar champion.
So right now, Tommy, you've got races in every category. You have driver championships that have been clinched, but a proper 6.5-hour race to go. You've had more yellows than you'd counted on. So your sub-strategy, your second strategy is actually also redundant right now. So you actually can go for a 6-hour 30 race, which is an awful long time, with almost a clean slate, can't you? Because all your second guessing is gone. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right. Yeah. No. It's the first part of the race, other than the cars that are a lap down that are trying to get laps back and have some damage, it's kind of a fresh race reset. Now, what we're going to have here is we're going to have a 30-minute dash for the first tranche of Tequila Cup points, Patrón Tequila Cup points.
It was easy for you to say.
Yeah.
Lights out on the safety car. So we'll get back to green after our 8th full course caution. Closing in on a record, and it's a record that we don't want to close in on, and it's that number of cautions. The most that we've had here at Petit Le Mans was 10. Talked about that earlier, back in 2011 for 62 laps. Of course, we've got beautiful weather, which is better than it was in 2009 when the rains came.
I was in pit lane with Chris and Jamie.
I was.
And where were you? Were you one of the ones talking about how could you have more creamer in your coffee?
And how cold it was.
And is the pizza still hot?
Is the shrimp cocktail coming up?
Well, we were
I think maybe we were.
We were so wet, we'd gone past that wet point when the water's running down into your shoes that you were like, it's over. I don't actually want to go in the dry because then I'll notice how wet I am.
Oh, I wasn't laughing at you then, but I'm laughing at you now.
But the team, as you may have noticed, the teams are very exposed in this pit lane as well. Yeah. So every member of every crew and every driver was drenched.
Well, and it's not just the drivers. Every corner worker that was sitting out there on the racetrack. And you can't race without the corner workers. Those are the guys, the unsung heroes. I really think that the corner workers and the crew guys are the ones who don't get the credit. But we're going to go back to green as the safety car heads to pit lane. It's the number 81 Porsche in GT Daytona that leads the field back to green, but Delta Wing now trying to move to the front. Gabby Chavez gets passed by the 42, Hope and Tongue, but he is a lap down, so he's now back on his lead lap. Gabby Chavez in the Delta Wing is your leader, but now the complexion of the race has changed yet again with the 42 being back on the lead lap.
And Ben Barker's lead in GT Daytona was short-lived. Lucky to gather that one up. Probably good for Ho Pin Tung that he did, because that would have probably drawn a penalty otherwise.
And that should go down just as a strong, tough racing at the beginning. But you know, the 42 did exactly what he had to do. If you've got that, you need to just get track position, start working away. Pull back a whole lap here is a pretty miserable thing to try and do. But that was the only option available at that point.
Watch the Delta Wing draw in this Honda-powered Ligier at the end of the straightaway.
May not want to choose to go by, I have a
Well,
feeling.
and you know, at this point in time for Gabby Chavez, he's got to say, that's not for position right now.
Yeah.
Tell that to a 22-year-old Colombian.
Yeah, well, I'm sure somebody's on the radio telling him that. I'm sure Timmy Keene is letting him know, let him go, run your race, let's go, we'll deal with it later.
Remember, that's not for position, Gabby. That's not for position. He's running good laps. Let's just put in some good laps here.
Come
the
on.
33, the Viper, the 25 from Prototype Challenge involved in it as well.
Coming out of 10A and B.
It's Ben Keating.
Damage to the underwing.
The 9 involved from Action Express. Closing in 3 hours and 33 minutes, John Fogarty, who was running
Go now,
second.
Chris, talk to me. What do I need to nose?
You'll be able to.
Front body works. For sure, tire still has air. Okay, all the tires are up. Let's get a nose ready.
It's good to see John Fogarty back in the car. He says he has things working for next year, which is great news. Not sure.
It looked like the Viper was maybe starting to go around.
Well, and I don't know if the 25 gets into the back of the 9. They're in the tree, and it's kind of hard to see.
It already happened.
So it's hard to tell from that angle, but one more time, everybody together. Now the 33 on pit road with damage to the right rear.
And Brian, look at this damage to the right rear, the splitter or the under tray underneath the back end of the car, about 1/3 of the right corner missing on that. So it's gonna be interesting. Is the team gonna try and replace something like that? We're still under green here, so you'd think they'd want to try and get it fixed as quick as possible. But Ben Keating shutting that motor off, and it looks like it'll be a little bit longer stay here as they try and get this rear under tray changed out.
Call to shut it down. No reason to sit there and potentially overheat something as the crew goes to work. They know it'll take a little bit longer. So let's take a look again at what happens. Nice and slow. There's the 33, the Viper on the inside. You see the 9 coming through? The 9, yeah. I think John Fogarty gets into that right rear pretty substantially, and 25 just gets caught up into it. On the outside, Tom Kimber-Smith.
Yeah, he clobbered him. I mean, obviously the Viper was side by side with that other portion. I think Fogarty was trying to get a run to go, you know, to pull in the inside, but he misjudged it by a good bit.
35 in, slides to the marks. Well, while we do this stop, let's head down to Andrew for more.
Yeah, well, I'm with a man who I first met in Formula Ford racing in the UK. I called you Oswaldo in those days, but now you're Oz Negri, with a great long career and working really hard, just the two of you.
Yeah, absolutely. I can say how much fun I had on this initial stint here. This TUDOR Championship is absolutely mega competitive. You know, it was so busy out there, especially when the GTLMs got together with the GTDs. We were lapping them. It was like mind-blowing. But anyways, our car is great. Continental tires. We keeping them real good all the way through the stints, and I think we have a really good car. And hopefully, by the end of the race, we'll have a track position to fight for the podium.
You took the Ford EcoBoost engine this year, which has been a new departure. Is that okay?
That's brilliant. I can't say enough about the Ford guys and the Roush 8 guys. They came so far with the first year on the Ford EcoBoost. You know, improving every single race. We you know, they come up with something that makes us stronger and more competitive.
Oh, so you got the blanket round you here, you're relaxing, but obviously fatigue will be an issue here for you.
I hope not. I've been training pretty hard for it. I did a triple stint, felt pretty good in the car, just keeping my muscles warm for when I get in the car, I'm warmed up.
Tutti bon.
This Mike Shank team, such a crowd favorite. John Pugh doing a great job right now, holding off IndyCar champion Scott Dixon in the blue and white number 01 from Chip Ganassi Racing. They've got a great picture on this car this weekend. Lots of pictures from their fans. They send them in, and the fans get to ride along. But you know the pictures that I really like? Yeah, I mean, the fan pictures are interesting, but just look closely. You know who that guy is? That's Mike Shank. I thought Dorsey had a mullet when he was younger. Did you see that?
I thought it was Dan Aykroyd, but that is a world-class mullet right there. I bet he strutted into that dance.
Oh, don't you
like
know?
He owned the
and
world.
Did you see the vest?
The vest. It was strong.
I got to give Mike credit for. I wonder if Mike knows that picture was actually even put on there. Andrew?
What was the idea? I like the mullet, man.
That's ridiculous. That's the scariest thing I saw all weekend so far. I mean, it's a thing we did for our fans. We have a lot of good people that follow us all year. We've had a tough year. Our EcoBoost is good today, though. John Pugh's just doing a great job. But, man, that is wow. That's my Apple vacation vest.
And all the crew are on there in some of their younger days as well, I think. Pictures of all the crew in their younger days.
Glory days. My glory days. But it's great to see all of my crew on there from their high school years. And just a little thank you, really, for everybody.
Big race still going on?
A lot to do. Got 7 hours, 6.5 hours. We're pretty good. The car's running good.
Super mullet. Super mullet.
Super mullet. But for John Fogerty, nothing super about the contact. He'll get a drive-through penalty for the contact with the 33.
Jordan Taylor right now is on a tear, working his way up to Gabby Chavez. He's about a second a lap faster on average, but Chavez is 16 seconds up the road, which is an awful lot.
It's so impressive, the job that Timmy Keene and the rest of the Delta Wing crew have done. Obviously, for the drivers, they've done a spectacular job, but the car obviously coming along very, very well.
Well, we pointed out when they first went longer than everybody else on that first stop, and Catherine Legg touched on it, they haven't been able to capitalize on that fuel mileage advantage. But if you get a yellow at the right time at the end of this thing, they're going to win, and it's not even going to be close. And they got to keep it together until then, but they're running that. They got to be pretty happy with that run. Don Panos, who's done so much for this track, for the American Le Mans Series merging now into Tudor, that car is his baby. And so, I mean, I'm not sure what he would do if that car could make it to victory lane in the Petit Le Mans.
That would be a special moment, to say the least. For Richard Westbrook right now, he's being hunted down by Sebastian Bourdais, and Bourdais on a charge, really beginning to put the pressure and close down on Westbrook. But as you said, Justin, Jordan Taylor, Gabby Chavez, some distance up the road.
Don't these cars look different now to the way they did? We talked about even the Viper over the course of a year. Just the way the aero package is on these prototypes now, the cornering speeds, they really do look very impressive around this track. And the speed of them, I had a quick nip out there and looked through the S's yesterday. I mean, it's quick. I mean, it's real prototype racing.
And just like at Sebring, the first time Daytona prototype-based cars had run at Sebring, this is most of these drivers and teams' first visit to Road Atlanta and Petit Le Mans, much like it was for the ALMS guys at Daytona.
Down the hill again, Bourdais seems to have kind of maintained the gap. I don't think he can close much now as Westbrook, and you look at the times the last time by, and indeed Bourdais now just 3/10 off the last lap of Westbrook, so that's about as far as he can go. It seems like right now, the 33 back on track, but you can still see some of that damage on the right rear, Chris.
Yeah, Brian, and the team ended up sending Ben Keating back out on the racetrack because they couldn't get that under tray, or a new under tray affixed under there, because of some of the contact points were bent. So they're going to wait for a caution and try and bring him back in and get a new under tray on that car. But Tommy, when you take an aerodynamic device like that off of Viper, how's that thing handled?
Well, in 2012, our first Petit, where the car was early in its development, there was some damage, and the only times I drove the car were with a damaged rear underwing, and it cuts the rear downforce, overall downforce a good bit. So right down through the S's, down through turn 12, definitely affects the car.
33 flashes by. We understand the 42 is back in pit lane. I don't know if that's just a routine stop. It looks to be. We're going to work there on the left side. I think just cleaning out radiators while the fuel is going in.
Still the holder of the fastest lap of the race at the moment.
What I find interesting is the fuel's going in. I haven't seen tires go on, so are they double stinting tires already? Fuel is in, the car is away. Either they changed tires very quickly in the beginning, or it was fuel only for the 42. Tongue stays in the car. This car now back on the lead lap. Towards the end of it, I don't know if he lost a lap again on that stop, but he had worked his way back on the lead lap. Have to wait and see how it cycles through. There's Chavez just now coming out from underneath the bridge, so should make it out ahead, I think, and maintain his position on the lead lap. That will be huge.
No, I think he slipped back onto one lap down, but he's got a full tank of fuel, so when the Delta wing comes in, it'll cycle back around.
Thanks for doing the math for me, Tom.
You got it. You got it. Because he was only, I mean, at most, he could have been 15, 20 seconds up the road.
Shows the pace of that car and of the drivers that are in it. You look at Gustavo Jacobin has come a long, long way this season from where he's been in the past. He's a very fast race car driver, and I think he's been able to control what probably is the most important thing to control as a driver, and that's been his emotions a lot of times this year.
Yeah, we saw his patience on display at Coda.
You know, you look at that incident in turn one, and I think it was just a bit of a stack-up effect and a squeeze effect from the other cars that were there. It wasn't what we had seen from him in years past.
Car looks pretty settled to drive right now, and of course a relatively controlling position because Jordan Taylor, well, he's just knocked it under 10 seconds on his last time past start finish line, but the gap is slowly coming down and there's a sense of inevitability to it, but this is still an amazing display of the pace of the Delta Wing.
Amazing display for the Taylor brothers as well. Jordan beginning to cut the distance down. We're closing in on the 4-hour mark. The first time points will be awarded for the Patrón Cup, the 17th running of Petit Le Mans. It's Don Pano's Delta Wing out in front right now in the hands of Gabby Chavez. Huge crowd on hand in the absolutely perfect weather for Petit Le Mans. Chavez leads overall. Gunnar Jeanette, Prototype Challenge. Ollie Gavin in his Corvette in GTLM. Right now, this is what's going on in the prototype category. Jordan Taylor, yes, he and his brother have missed out on the Drivers' Championship. They could still walk out of here with a victory at Petit Le Mans. In GT Le Mans, Patrick Pilet, after that problem on pit lane, that's shocking to me.
Well, they got a yellow. It was under yellow when it happened. They were able to fix that. Didn't lose much time. I think they're a little bit out of sequence on pits, but they're right in the thick of things. Now Ben Barker and Ian James, we got Porsches 1, 2, 3 up front in GT Daytona.
Bill Sweeler has moved back to fourth, but in Prototype Challenge, Gunnar Jeanette leads right now. He and Frankie Montecalvo in the 52. One of the two driver pairings in the field, doing a good job leading in Prototype Challenge. For more, let's go to the pits with Andrew.
Down in a Delta Wing, and this race is really coming to you, Tim.
Yeah, I'm really proud of all the guys at Delta Wing and Elan Motorsports for all the work we've done in the past 6 weeks to get ourselves to be as competitive as we are now, and working the race backwards a little bit. Right now we're in a position to make it in one less stop than the DP cars, so that's why we really didn't pit that last time. And it kind of puts us in a good position if it just happens to go green the rest of the way, and we can look at it to be in pretty good shape.
So it could definitely come to you, this?
Yeah, it certainly could. Don't hurt me in off sequence sometimes.
You wouldn't want to be in the bar with Don Panos afterwards.
Yeah, Don's been great. Don Panos, hats off to him. He's really given us a lot of support. Love being here.
Thanks very much. Let's go down the pit for that.
Andy Merrick is behind the wheel right now. And Andy, what a season he has had. He is now officially a Bentley boy and has done incredibly well. Second in the championship, I think, over in Europe, running the Bentley in its inaugural year. So the Delta Wing in the incredibly capable hands of Andy Merrick, who of course knows his track very well, and this car better than anyone.
Well, Joao Barbosa climbed out of the number 5 after 46 minutes with a championship. His teammate Christian Fittipaldi has now done the same. Matt?
And that magical pairing began a year ago in the season finale when Barbosa and Christian Fittipaldi were teamed up, and this year Simply Magic 3 wins and driver championships, team championships. But let me ask you this, you had the second stint. How nerve-wracking to watch your teammate go run his 45 for you to get a chance for your 45 to clinch?
Well, you're exactly on it. It was a little bit nerve-wracking because he had to do his 45 minutes and then I had to do my 45 minutes. Obviously, that portion I took it a little bit easy, and then after that we fiddled a little bit with the car. At that point the car was a little bit too loose, and then we did a couple of light adjustments to it, and then right at the very end the car was very, very good when I came in. But I'm extremely happy. I'm very thankful for Action Express, Chevy, and obviously Joao. Like he was a perfect teammate. Seb on the long distance races also. Going back to Daytona, the 24, like we were pretty much playing plug and play the whole race. Like one guy got out of the car, the other one got in. We didn't even have to mess around with seats, absolutely nothing. So it was pretty much one of those dream teams, I would say.
A stellar racing resume, the F3000 championship, now the TUDOR championship. It's a lot like kids. Each one are special in their own way. True?
Yes, I would agree with you. Each one is special in its own way. Obviously, the 3000 championship was really special because it's the one that puts you into Formula One. But if I could go back in my career, I wish I could have won that one or 2 years later. I was extremely young when I started Formula One, maybe a little bit too young. And then something else that was really special was finishing second in Indy in '95. It was only my second oval. I had never raced on an oval before. Indianapolis was my second oval, and I managed to finish second. And not forgetting my long stint with Paul Newman and Carl Haas, like that was extremely good. Although I only managed to get 2 wins out of it, I had a heck of a time, and I had like 25 podiums, and I'm very thankful to those guys also.
So many special memories, and they're hoping to add with that today. This is the most successful season for Action Express in the win tally. 3, and they're hoping for 4 today.
They would certainly like to have another one. There's a great shot from onboard. Well, guess what? You can go to foxsports.com/motor for live onboard video streams of the TUDOR United SportsCar Championship from today's race. Do it right now. foxsports.com/motor. Love that shot out the door of the Corvette.
And the 4 shadowing the 3. The 4 is trying to get up to, just right after we announced the 911 was leading, there was a pit stop and a driver change. Nick Tandy back in the 911. And we have Milner trying to get down the inside of the number 3. Hopefully he sees him.
Oh! Contact with one of the prototype challenge machines. Really, really aggressive maneuver by Jan Magnussen.
Well, they have to be aggressive. They're trying to get laps back, and the only shot they have of beating the Drivers' Championship is finishing in front of both Vipers. So he's got to go. Now, Milner's on the lead lap, and if he's holding him up, it'd be interesting to see what they do here. Obviously, that 3 car took a pretty big hit, and it might not be at full speed.
That should not be a penalty, though, in my opinion. That was the PC car, I believe, was looking at the second Corvette, not at the one that was next to him. That's why he turned in.
I think no harm, no foul.
No harm, no foul.
This is looking from the other direction. Slides in. Yeah, they're side by side, but they, you know, like I said, no harm, no foul there. It's 4 hours and 4 minutes and change into the 17th running of the Petit Le Mans. What that means is points were just awarded at the 4-hour mark for the Tequila Patrón North America Endurance Cup. There is a championship for both Prototype and GTLM, and for GT Daytona and Prototype Challenge. It's $100,000 to the team in Prototype and GTLM that win that championship, and $50,000 to the Prototype Challenge and the GT Daytona team that win. Points are awarded in the 4 longest races of the year. The Rolex 24 at Daytona, Sebring, Salem 6 Hours of the Glen, and Petit Le Mans powered by Mazda. So we've got more points at stake. We've just awarded some at the 4-hour mark. They'll be awarded again at the 8-hour mark and then at the 10-hour mark, which is, of course, the checkered flag. $100,000's a lot of money if you think about it. Works for me, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's exactly what we just talked about. You see how the money will be distributed. And if you don't think that the team strategized to run around it, you are very mistaken. We saw it at Daytona, we saw it at Sebring, and we certainly saw it at the Salem 6 Hours of the Glen. We've got our number crunchers in the back right now, adding up the tallies, and we'll let you know where we stand as soon as we get those results. Like I said, that will change 2 more times throughout the event. We'll add points.
We can see here the 912 car, which is leading Patrick Long behind the wheel, who is leading GTLM right now. Car's looking very strong. I mean, actually, haven't mentioned Patrick much this race. I think he could only got in the car on the last stint. He's a master around this track, but the Viper, he needs to be, because the Viper is right behind. So
and that is the Viper that's trying to get his lap back. That is Ryan Hunter-Reay. Really wants to get around that 912 before a yellow comes out.
We saw the 56 BMW in the hands of John Edwards at the back of the shot right there. This car always seems, and I don't know why this is, some people would call it sandbagging. I think it's just a better race car than it is a qualifying car. With the downforce that the little Z4 has on it, I think it's a well-handling car. Perhaps suffers a little bit down the straightaway, but they can make time through traffic, and that's what's important right now, although he's not losing a lot of time to the Viper out in front.
I think they go when it matters. I think it's certainly not the strongest car that we see.
555.
The 555 pulling back on there. Wow, championship implications there. But and look at this big run through 12 to the inside. This is not what Hunter-Reay wants, because now he's got 2 cars to get through to get his lap back.
I would argue, Tommy, I think with the BMW, there are cars that they are absolutely penalized in terms of performance in qualifying, in ultimate lap. I don't think they sandbag in anywhere. I think what they have with that BMW is balance. And when the car is in that mid-stint run, when it's in the middle of the race, when everybody is slowing down by a couple of seconds a lap, they are able to keep that same pace. So in fact, everyone else drops down to their pace. I don't believe they go up to the leader's pace, because that BMW team, there's an air of diligent despondency there. You know, they know they've got to keep their nose to the grindstone, but they are not fast.
Yeah. No, it's a little bit like the P2s and the Daytona prototype. They make their speed in different places, but you're right. Oh, what was the
problem for the Delta Wing? It looked like got shoved off the track. I think that was the Delta Wing that dropped a wheel.
You don't want to do that.
Driver's right at the exit of 7, so perhaps got forced over there by traffic. As you watch the number 17 Porsche Team Falcon tire, Marco Holzer behind the wheel, and there's a look at the 0, the Delta Wing. Andy Merrick shown 6th in class right now. I think they did have some type of a problem back there.
I thought he had some loose bodywork, but I think it's that piece behind the rear wheels just vibrates a little bit.
We've talked about the 4 different classes a little bit earlier. GB Autosport, or Motorsport, I should say, had a great run going. Ben Barker led the category. The car being shown now a ways back in 5th in GT Daytona. Let's check in with their camp and Andrew.
Yeah, I'm with Ben Barker, who you might not know very well over here in America. He's one of the stars of the Porsche Super Cup Championship, and he's one of these guys that I need a box to stand on to talk to. Ben, had a super run there.
Yeah, no, really good. We exited the pit lane in about P6, and yeah, the Tully's coffee rocket is certainly rocketing at the moment. So we got into the lead in my stint. I think I did about 2 hours and 20 minutes. So a long stint. I had no radio for the first half an hour, so that was tough, and then I managed to plug it in. And after that, I just got my head down and just tried to look after the tyre and keep out of trouble. There's so much traffic here, and they're overtaking you left, right, and centre, and you've got to keep your wits about you. And luckily, I had Sam, my spotter, back on the radio for me for my last stint.
Right, you've never been around Road Atlanta before?
No, this is my first time, so a decent amount of laps now. I love it, up and down, blind corners, makes it interesting for traffic. But I'm loving Road Atlanta, and I'm loving my racing in the US, thanks to Tully's Coffee.
Then you sort of made your name racing in Australia first, didn't you? And you really went out on a limb to do that.
Yeah, I did. I had a friend out there. He invited me over. I went out. I stayed with him, got into surfing, really liked it there. And then I signed a deal to do Formula 3, raced in Australia for 2 years, the second year in Porsche Carrera Cup. And then I came back to the UK and raced in British Carrera Cup. And now I'm in Super Cup, second year in Super Cup. But yeah, I'm now slowly creeping into endurance racing. I'm doing the ELMS with Golf Racing, and I'm loving the IMSA Championship out here. And I hope to be back next year.
Thanks very much, Ben Barker. Very much a name to remember for the future. Back to the booth.
You guys worked so hard a few hundred years ago to get rid of us, and now look what's happened. The British are back everywhere. I mean, it just shows history is really redundant in the end.
All right, there's a look at the Delta Wing. Andy Merrick behind the wheel. We talked about a problem. Look at the lower right of the screen. You see it over there. Driver's right. Is that
he
one of the Mueller Porsches that pushed him off, the 19?
3 GTD cars were in their own race.
So the question is, for Andy Merrick, that Delta Wing had been so good, was there any damage that was done to it? Can Delta Wing march its way back to the front here at Petit Le Mans? Four hours and 15 minutes into the 17th running of the Petit Le Mans. Your race leader, the number 10 from Wayne Taylor Racing, is in. Jordan Taylor out. Max Angelelli takes over with a full pit stop, fuel, tires, and driver change. And just in front of them, the number 5 from Action Express with Sebastian Bourdais behind the wheel pits. Bourdais will stay in the car. 4 Continental tires and some VP Racing fuel. And the 5 will head back out. So far, routine. Tire stop, or the tire changes are quicker than a full fuel load, so it really doesn't do anybody any good to double stint tires. Later in the race, with a splash or something like that, we could see that. But right now, if you can change the tires faster than you fuel it, you put fresh rubber on every time. Down through the S's, you can see the difference of warm tires.
Oh, and here comes
the 90 Corvette. You also saw a prototype challenge car get past Bourdais. Bourdais in that red, white, and blue number 5.
And this is treacherous. The car's on. This would be one reason why you would consider double stinting, if depending on how the tires are holding up. You don't have to go through this warm-up sequence. But chances are the grip of the new tires, once they're in, will offset what you lose on getting them up to temperature.
It'll be interesting to see once the sun goes down and the temperature drops, whether double stinting becomes an option for that very reason, Tommy. 0-1 in. Scott Dixon, the IndyCar champion, behind the wheel. And Dixon, another one of those drivers, much like Sebastian Bourdais, where it's plug and play.
Yeah, they asked for 3 laps of practice or something like that. I'm good.
You want to drive? Oh, that's
just finish the season, you know, tearing it up against willpower and the like. Obviously super sharp, and he loves to come in here and contribute.
But not only do they love to come and contribute, but think about it. The IndyCar season was over relatively early in the year. It's not going to start until, what, February now, I believe, February or March of next year. These guys want to drive. They have to drive to stay in.
Makes for almost a 6-month off season if you don't.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny. It shows the caliber of our sports car racing. From NASCAR to IndyCar, they love racing here.
We talked about Patrón Cup. There's the way it stands in Prototype and Prototype Challenge. And Action Express is going to need a truck to take home all the awards at the end of the year if it stays this way. Driver, team, and perhaps Patrón Cup. The same with Core Autosport, who's won the team championship, I believe the last 3 years in a row. They're looking for that, and they're looking for the Patrón Cup. Corvette Racing leads it in GT Le Mans after the points were awarded at the 4-hour mark, and in GT Daytona, AIM Autosport has a pretty darn good grasp on the Cup. We talked about the problems that the Mazda team had a little bit earlier. Let's check in down in the Speed Source camp with Andrew.
Yeah, you know, when I was interviewing Ben Barker, I said I had to stand there on a box to do it. But now I've actually got a box to stand on to speak to John Dewey. I'm towering over him. John, from Mazda's perspective, this has been very much a learning year. You've learned a lot. What for next year now?
Well, it's good to see you back in front of a camera. We talked at Daytona, and really what's been accomplished here is an absolute miracle. This race team has taken a production Skyactiv Mazda engine and asked it to do 3 times what it was designed to do. This is our laboratory to prove that technology. For next year, we're excited. We got some new bits coming. We'll literally be testing 30 days to prepare so that we can fight at the front with these guys.
What about the chassis? Will you use the same chassis, the Multimatic X-Lola chassis, or use a different one?
Yeah, Multimatic and Bosch and ModSpace and Castrol have been great partners in this program. We're going to stick with what we have. It's proven. And we're going to bolt those new bits in and hopefully be able to run closer to the front of the pack.
Of course, as well as running these cars, you're sponsoring the race as well. That's important to you.
We're proud of our partnership with Petit Le Mans. It's a great event. Mazda's racing history was established by guys like Jim Downing down the road. And before I go, I have to congratulate my daughter Carly. She was voted homecoming queen at the high school, so we did get at least one victory this weekend.
Happy Family Days. Thanks very much, John Dew.
Well, he's going to have to start watching out, and he's got a homecoming queen at home now, so he better be spending more time at home than the racetrack. Oh, and a problem for the 81. We were just talking with Ben Barker about what a great job the team had done, how well the car was running, and now the car slowing on the back straightaway in the hands of Philip Ing.
Going really slowly. I don't see a tire down.
That's what I was looking for.
It looks as though it's holding pace. It's downhill now, but will it make the uphill?
Sounds really rough.
I hear it running, but yeah, it doesn't sound like a Porsche should sound.
It doesn't sound like it's in drive right now, Tommy. I wonder if he can make the uphill. Otherwise, it's another yellow.
The answer is no.
Yeah. 4 hours and 20 minutes of racing so far. That's you know, in endurance racing terms, it's a fledgling distance, but
here's the problem. He's got to now get back to the right side of the road,
which he just did.
Ooh. Good job. He's got drive.
I wonder if he has a broken throttle cable.
Ah, that may be a very good point because the engine is at idle.
Yeah.
Do they have throttle cables?
Wow, that's tough. I mean, to spend as much time.
I was just saying something on the radio, but it was the crew congratulating him on getting it back. 912 also on the pit,
which is sooner than it should be in.
17 is in. They pitted with the 912 last time, did they not?
Yeah, they're mirroring them at the moment, step for step. So.
Oh, it was the 911 that came out of the lead. Yes. So that was Patrick Lawn getting out.
The new tear off on
going in, I believe.
New tear off on the 912 shows the amount of fluids that must be being thrown up, and of course driver change there on the Falcon number 17. Not sure who's got in yet. We will soon see that come up on our screen.
Derek Walker and his guys down at Team Falcon Tire have done an exceptional job. You talk about them winning last year. They won with Frankenstein. It was a car that was put together out of bits and pieces. They had damaged their chassis. It was a year-old chassis, I think, maybe even 2 years old, with modern aero bits plugged into it, and it was a compelling victory. It was one that no one expected, and I think probably the best win that team has ever had, certainly because it was a big event, as you see some of the cars that are out of the race, but the fashion in which they took the victory. 87 car off pit road. Number 10 out in front in the hands of Max the Axe Angelelli. Jordan Taylor climbing out of that entry just a short time ago. He's with Matt.
It has been a near flawless day for Wayne Taylor Racing in their 100th start. But then your teammate comes over the radio and yells, "I have a problem, I have a problem." And then what was it?
Oh, Max is back, so we know that. I mean, a bit of a drama queen sometimes.
I guess the volume was a little too low for his liking. He's getting old, so he's got the hearing problems, but I think he just turned the knob up a little bit. He's all good to go.
Well, the AARP folks will be happy to know that. So when you look at this car, if there is anything that you could do to improve it, what would it be at this point?
I mean, it's hard to put a single thing. I mean, traction's a big deal around here, out of 7, out of 5. But the biggest deal is traffic. I mean, the Konica Minolta car's been great. You know, in clean air out front, it'll be tough in traffic if we lose track position, but you know, it's good to be back at Petit with TUDOR as a title sponsor. It's been a great year. Hopefully we can end it well here with a win.
And you mentioned traffic being a concern, and it's been a challenge for everybody. But once the sun goes down, how much more of a challenge will it be tonight?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a little wild. I mean, there's a lot of different experience levels out there, I'd say. It's a nice way to say it, but the nighttime and night practice are a little wild with some guys not really knowing where to go. But, you know, it only gets started for like an hour and a half, so at that point in the race, you're not really holding back. So you have to take chances. So hopefully they'll be looking in the mirrors, and, you know, we'll be as cautious as we can be, but we won't hold back too much.
Impressive run, impressive lead at this point, up over 10 seconds, and Max is in the car. At this point, the game plan is a triple stint.
It's a long time for somebody who doesn't drive on a regular basis.
And that's tough to do. That's actually why I got out of the Viper, is big breaks in between. It was hard to stay sharp.
81 still in the pits. Can they get the problem sorted out and get back into the action here at Petit Le Mans? We'll find out as Max Angelelli leads the 17th annual Petit Le Mans. The Viper, well, they came in here looking for a championship for Jonathan Bomarito. That was not a perfect pit stop by any stretch of the imagination. And with the competition as intense as it is, you can't afford mistakes like this. Car up on jacks, left rear tire man going to work, and then down the car comes. Fueler can't.
Back up in the air, back up in the air, back up in the air.
The jack man back there on the right rear finally gets it back in, but then they had a problem. They said something about fluid underneath the car. They took the hood off and worked on that, so it seemed like things were going so well, but now problems in the pits for the 93.
It doesn't look like they fixed anything underneath the hood, so.
Here's a look at the number 44, the Magnus Racing Porsche. Gets on the curb. The curb wasn't the problem. It was once he dropped off the end of the curb, lucky not to hit anything in 12.
And I believe that's, we heard it on the radio, I think that's Siegfried in the car.
He was lucky to get away with that in every single way, but obviously, other than shaken but not stirred, back on track with no damage done. But
we talked earlier about the GB Motorsports team and what a great run they had. Now they're still on pit lane. Andrew?
Yes, they are. It's an alternator problem which has been causing them a lot of grief down here. That fact, the battery, they had to change the battery. I think they're still just completing that at the moment. I think it's going to be back in the race in maybe a couple of minutes. But it's certainly a major setback for Tully's coffee team.
Continue to work on the 81. Meanwhile, in GT Daytona, Dane Cameron trying to lock down a championship for the Turner Motorsports team and himself. Cameron has been absolutely spectacular this season in this BMW Z4 in GT Daytona and having another great run here.
Yeah, they've been awesome. As you said, they've been pulled back quite a bit with balance of performance. And it appears it's finally getting into the car. You know, they're having to work a lot harder for their speed now, but he's been a real revelation this year.
I think one of the things that they've talked about is how heavy the car is now. It's gotten almost 200 pounds added to it since the beginning of the year, and Dane said you feel the weight now. If the car begins to slide, it's a long, lazy slide. It's hard to arrest it. It doesn't want to slow down because you've just got so much mass moving, and the mass tends to be a little higher than what you wanted it to be. In Prototype Challenge, it's the number 52 from PR1 Matheson. Gunnar Jeanette behind the wheel.
It's easy to tell who's in the car with that distinctive helmet design he wears, the big dots.
He and Frankie Montecalvo spent a lot of time behind the wheel of a Ferrari last year over in Europe, so they've had to get readjusted to the Prototype Challenge car. A very different feel for the driver, more of a Formula car type feel, both because of the open cockpit and because of the way the car handles. There's a look at the 09. David Hannemeyer Hansen just about 40 seconds back. They'll need another full course caution to help them close that gap down a little bit. But hey, you've got 5.5 hours left. Plenty of time.
He's running, you know, half a second quicker on a lot of his laps than Gunnar is, but you know, the little bit of that's traffic back and forwards. But you know, as you say, 40 seconds, that's a lot of laps.
But think about what you just said. Gunnar Jeanette is a professional race car driver. David Hannemeyer Hansen is not, and he's running a pace as a professional runs like Gunnar Jeanette. And that's why I said earlier, for David Hannemeyer Hansen, hats off to him. He's a businessman, a very successful businessman, and that has afforded him the opportunity to do a lot of racing, and he has taken it very, very seriously and has been incredibly impressive. A couple of years ago with Conquest Motorsports in the American Le Mans Series, driving a P2 based car, he was every bit as quick as Martin Plowman in several of the races, who we know is a professional race car driver as well. And he's been great in GT, won at Le Mans this year in the GTE AM category. So hats off to David Hannemeyer Hansen. Another great performance today. Nick Tandy leading in GTLM, and that's a bit of a surprise after the 911 problems that we saw a little bit earlier. Petit Le Mans, there are always stories to be told, and they can change in the blink of an eye. We've seen it here this weekend. In the next 5.5 hours, we'll see more. After dodging a bullet on pit lane a bit earlier with contact with the Ferrari and the Corvette, the 911 Porsche leads in the GTLM category. Nick Tandy behind the wheel right now, and looks like the repairs that were made have held up. Problems though for the 555 Ferrari in GT Daytona. Bill Sweedler behind the wheel. Remember, 4 different classes of cars in the TUDOR United SportsCar Championship, and sometimes, well, 2 doesn't fit into one corner very well. Sweedler gets together with Scott Dixon down at the entry to turn 1. The guy on the outside usually loses.
Yeah, and actually Dixon was trying to get such a good run through 1. Boom. He was kind of straight lining it when Sweedler was starting to arc it in.
Right now, your leader in GT Daytona, the 23, Alex Riberas, comes to pit road. Looks like routine service and no driver change, so Riberas will stay in the car. 4 new Continental tires and fuel.
Your goal in a pit stop at this stage of the race is to be unremarkable. You want to have nothing memorable about these pit stops. Every race that has ever been won in sports cars at the top level is by the least amount of time in the pits with the least amount of damage. And in fact, you know, ideally, if you went for a race, they don't even have to be the fastest, with absolutely no damage and no unforeseen, unforced errors, you will win this race. And everybody knows that. And unfortunately, we're seeing with Viper right now, they're having unforced errors happen. So a lot of the teams up the pit lane. So right now, I'd say this is the moment people need to, the team managers need to become leaders right now and regroup their teams, because we're seeing a lot of mistakes.
No problems on that stop for Riberas. They head back out. That cannot be said for the number 9 from Action Express. The 5 car has run a trouble-free race, but for the 9, that's not been the case. Matt?
Brian, John Fogerty's brought the Corvette back to the team transporter. So the car cover's going on, so you guys are done for the day?
We are, unfortunately. You know, it's such an opportunity to run with Action Express Racing and be part of the Patrón Endurance Cup and the TUDOR United SportsCar Series. And, like, to have it end like this is pretty gutted. You know, the repairs we're not going to be able to get back out there and compete for what we came here for, which was a championship in the Patrón Endurance Cup, the North American Endurance Championship. So in order, we don't want to risk anything more, so we're done for the day. I feel gutted, you know, both for the Action Express guys and my teammates, Bert and Brian Frizzell. They just did an awesome job. But car was fantastic, and that's the way racing goes sometimes. You know, fortunately, Ben Keating and the Viper Exchange guys are able to continue on. Seems like he had to check up for some reason coming out of turn 10 there, and I was right off his bumper and nothing I could do. So that's the way it goes.
Something still amiss as far as the power steering or in the steering?
Yeah, we think, well, we definitely broke something in the steering rack and potentially affected the power steering motor as well. You know, Road Atlanta's not a place you really want to mess around with that sort of stuff. And yeah, it's just too much of a risk, and it's going to take quite a while to make the repairs, so that's it.
Thank you, John, for your time. Andrew?
Yeah, well, I'm with Bobby Rahal here. Bobby, you've got a car running in 4th place at the moment. Any chance of getting this first victory of the year?
Well, I hope so. You know, we're where we are because we haven't had a problem yet. Everybody else seems to be having problems. We're not the fastest guy by a long shot. We're not even probably the 4th or 5th fastest car, but so far no problems. That's going to be the key. You know, we're only halfway there, so who knows? I mean, there's a lot of race left, and just going to keep, we're like the tortoise and the hare. We're the tortoise today.
What's the plan for next season? What's the plan for next season, Bobby? What's the plan for next season?
Well, we're hoping to be back. We'll see.
Well, I haven't seen you doing much historic racing lately, and I enjoyed that.
Yeah, no historic racing anymore.
Thanks very much. Back to the booth.
Well, Bobby still likes to drive. 9th caution of the day, and the reason is the 33 Dodge Viper has had a problem at the exit of turn 7. Ben Keating behind the wheel. Let's listen to some radio.
IM5, our race is done.
That was a pretty definitive statement by the car owner. And I think when you see the replay, you'll understand why Ben Keating says our race is done. Look way up ahead. You see the dust. That Viper is up in the air a bit, almost goes over, and then comes back down on the right side. So the hit, pretty substantial. He must have hit left rear, and that just kind of got the car up in the air.
You use a lot of curb there on the exit. I mean, the edge of the curb, the top of the curb is the edge of the racetrack, and everybody uses it, so probably dumped a wheel and got spun around backwards.
Max Angelelli leading, but the battle in GTLM for Manufacturers Championship, Drivers Championship still rages, as does that for Patrón Cup. And the Prototype Challenge leaderboard, I should say, Gunnar Jeanette leading in the category over David Hannemeyer Hansen. Talked earlier about what a great job Hannemeyer Hansen has done here. And then up-and-coming IndyCar star Jack Hawksworth in the 08, right behind him. Alex Popoff in the 8 for Starworks. And then 2014 driver champion in the category, John Bennett, rounds out the top 5. Just as we were going to break, I saw the number 10 come to pit road under the full course caution. I don't know if that was emergency service, but it hasn't cycled through on the timing and scoring board that way. So I don't know if it was a previous shot that we just had of the 10 on pit road, but you're certainly on pit lane. We saw him, but you see Max Angelelli on board right now. Saw a problem for the 90, contact with the number 45 Flying Lizard Audi down in 10A. To the left of your screen, 90 turns in, and they had both split a slower car. It was contact, the right front of the 45 Audi with the left front of the 90. Confusing, Tommy.
Well, it's confusing because how's the Audi outbraking the 90 car? So I'm wondering if the yellows were out. You couldn't see any yellows in that frame, but it doesn't make any sense otherwise. So yeah, whatever it is, I mean, you had a car that was running in second and had taken about 10 seconds out of Max Angelelli's lead, and has now got a broken left front suspension. Is behind the wall.
So they'll go to work on that, and the shot we must have had could have been from earlier. Max Angelelli still being scored in the lead, unless he had driven through the pit lane and it was closed, and so he just drove out the other end. 4 hours and 47 minutes off the clock here at Petit Le Mans, a 10-hour event this year. In years past, it's been either mileage or time. It's 10 hours this year. See the Prototype Challenge cars coming into the pit lane. David Hannemeyer Hansen climbing out of the 09. He was looking at the left side of the car like perhaps he had had some contact.
Pretty relaxed looking change, but taking the deck lid off.
This isn't what you want to see.
Now, you could say that they may have been reporting something that was showing on telemetry or something, and now under yellow, so it's worth them taking the extra 20 seconds to have a look. That could be it, but I mean, the mechanics they seem to know what to go for there, Tommy.
Power steering fluid coming, power steering fluid coming. Reset your fuel, radio
there
check, Duncan. Copy, radio check, fuel reset.
The compressions here, turn 12, turn 1, down through the S's in turn 5 to some extent. That power steering It's so important.
Does it feel notchy or heavy? No notchiness, no notchiness.
That's good. That just means it's a power steering fluid issue, perhaps.
Notchiness is coming. Notchiness is coming. A little notchy. Tony, do not touch the wheel. Get back over the wall. Driver change is done.
The point is this, that power steering, it's imperative that it works. What you don't want is it to work part of the time and not work the other part of the time and catch you off guard. Andrew?
Well, I'm just looking here at the 52 car, and I think there's an oil leak right at the front of the engine. That's what they seem to be doing. They've just poured some oil into the car. They've just shut it off again. This, I think this could be quite serious for this team, to be honest. So they're still investigating it. Duncan End is now at the wheel of the car, and I'll see if I can get David Weinmeier Hansen and see what he had to say if he felt anything before he came in. But definitely a problem here.
Andrew obviously did not get the message that they're working on the power steering there, complaining about an issue, and they're trying to add some fluid. Here we have the lead cars, the 911 and the 4, pitting in tandem. That beat up number 911, but still running at the front with Nick Tandy at the wheel.
Haven't we seen this pit lane order before? Not a little bit quieter pit lane right now. Let's watch the Corvette pit stop. We know these guys are the best in the business. They came in behind the Porsche. Will they leave in front of it? Absolutely identical pull-ups into the pit box.
And the problem is going to be for the 911 who gets to his pit box first. That left rear tire of the Corvette, how far out is it placed? The fueler dives out of the way. Not that you would ever hold anybody up with pit equipment.
Go, 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 go,
remember
go, go.
Tire Carrier Gate in IndyCar?
Yes, I remember Tire Carrier Gate very well. It was at Sonoma last year, I believe.
The official there was a little conciliatory sort of pat on the back for the mechanic, because he saw the mechanic kick the tire backwards, because if the car hits the tire, it is a penalty. Yeah. But the mechanic at the last minute flicked that tire out of the way, so I think it helped his team out. And they're obviously in the back of the Viper there. Tommy, what are they looking at?
The back of the Viper?
Oh, come on.
Yeah, that's
you
why
know what's
Do you know
back
Dorsey
there?
would be able to tell me what washer they were playing with? But that's only because
you couldn't check.
Because you couldn't. Oh, it's the thingamajig big what's it?
Yes.
That's what it is, the thingamajig big what's it?
Whatever. I mean, we're making light, but this is serious business. It could be something they've been wondering about, and we're waiting for a yellow to look at it a little further. But remember, this is the car that fell off the jack stand, or fell off. Came on. They let the car down, didn't fall off.
Oh, it's the top of the suspension there.
Yeah, there is an alternator, but it looks like they're working in half shaft area or rear suspension.
Oh, how a day can come undone for a team that came into this on pace all weekend. They have been dominant in the last 10 hours of motorsport in this racing, but very, very tough.
You know, but it's funny, you know, you got to just stay calm and you deal with stuff. You know, Bill Riley has a saying, and he says he's a funny guy, but he delivers it so deadpan. He says, we have a rule here. You're not allowed to run or yell unless you're on fire. And uh-oh.
So the 93.
Now you can see there's definitely some fluid on the back of the car.
So the 93 away, he gets stopped at the red light where we've seen some of the issues before, but the big issue that we just saw on track was both for the 33 Dodge Viper and the 90 Corvette, Matt.
And we're down here at the team transporter, and repairs are ongoing on that left front area in the suspension. And Richard Westbrook has gotten back in the car. Mike Rockenfeller, you had an opportunity to have a conversation and get an idea what happened.
Well, it was full course yellow. We were running in second position overall, and then a 45 Audi hit us under yellow in the chicane on the left-hand side. When, I mean, I don't know if it was the wave by going on, but normally they are supposed to go on the right. It's just stupid, you know. We were fighting so hard and trying to, catch the leader, and we actually did at that time. And then you are out of the race, more or less, because some stupid guy doesn't know what he's doing out there.
A lot of high level of frustration and disappointment down here with the 90 bunch. Remember, they were in that tight battle for second place in points. Both Wayne Taylor Racing and Spirit of Daytona entered, just separated by one marker.
And we had thought that it happened under full course caution, but we couldn't verify it based upon, we couldn't see any corner worker stands with a flag out, but that's what we thought. They were definitely off the pace, and the 45 up the inside makes that contact, hard contact.
I mean, all the big stuff has happened under yellow. You know, and that, you know, he's obviously frustrated, but it's hard to take exception to what he said. I mean, that should not happen.
Yeah, it should not happen.
Period.
At all.
Starting to see a lot of build-up on the outside of the track, a lot of rubber starting to line, and that was on the straight. That's not even underloading on the corners. So when we see these restarts and cars are having to go offline to make their overtaking maneuvers, you know, as we come to the green, I guess now it is, you've got to bear that in mind. It gets harder and harder to make an effective pass as they take the green flag. Racing is a go.
Lights off on the safety car. The green flag waves, racing again, and once again, the overall leader not at the front of the pack on the restart. The overall leader, Max Angelelli, Sebastian Bourdais second. But the GTLM battle continues to stay red hot. Brian Sellers in that light blue and turquoise, number 17. Impressive, impressive stuff. The Viper right behind him. We understand that the 45, the Flying Lizard Motorsports Audi, will get a drive-through penalty for the contact with the number 90, but that is no consolation for Spirit of Daytona.
See, that deserves the stop and hold. When you take a car out of the race under yellow, that's what deserves a stop and hold.
I would agree. That if you've significantly impacted, pardon the pun, someone else's race, then you're going to be significantly impacted as well.
Yeah. Now we saw the 3 car coming out of the pits, better part of a lap behind as the cars were coming to the green. They benefited from a lap down wave by. They're only 3 laps down instead of 4, but they got to keep the pace and hope for a yellow now. So this 3 car trying to recover from that early issue. They've been running well, but and they took advantage of the wave by, but were not able to catch back up to the back of the pack. So they need to just try to hold station, not let Nick Tandy catch him. You can see it's probably about 15 seconds ahead of the GTLM leader, and hopefully get a yellow.
Max Angelelli
not for the
working
fans,
traffic.
but for them.
Yep, absolutely. Max Angelelli trying to work through the GTLM battle. I shouldn't even call it traffic. And you look at the impressive performance of Porsche today in GT Le Mans, and a problem in one. It's the 42.
That's a big hit.
Impact, and that'll
see the
bring
tracks. He was carrying big speed, and he looks like he got just up on the curb.
He may have been going around the outside of someone. It could have gone wrong under braking. That is a proper impact up there. That's a good couple of 100 feet before you hit there, but the grass has been wet.
Yep.
All for the, you know, from yesterday, and that red clay does not help it. That is full course caution number 10. Can you believe that? That is stunning.
Significant damage. Gustavo Jacobin sitting in the car in the 42 after the impact. Side by side or near Delta Wing into one. Delta Wing down on the inside. Couldn't tell if the movement from the Delta Wing was because he hit the curb and then Jacobin, or hit Jacobin and that's what upset the car. But you could definitely see movement.
Yeah, I mean, Jacobin was definitely sweeping across. Whether he thought he was clear or not, it's hard to see from that angle exactly how much he came in and how much the Delta Wing came out.
Look on the Delta Wing, looking for some damage. And of course, the interesting thing is he could have cleared the rear tires and then just gotten to the front. It's so narrow up front. Seems to be no damage there on the zero. No significant body damage that's visible. Gustavo Jacobin climbs out. Good to see him out, but obviously he's upset. Let's take a ride with Gustavo Jacobin into turn 1. And just absolutely distraught. Here we go.
Well, I didn't realize they were both passing a Porsche, so you know, he was kind of having to thread the needle through there.
And he was looking to the left just before they got to the braking point. He was spotting himself a position overtaking the slower car. I'm not sure how aware he was of the Delta Wings line through the inside of the corner.
And they had pulled themselves back up into contention. You know, I'm sure he would love to have that one back.
From outside again.
It does look like the Delta Wing bounced maybe to on the curb.
Yeah, I can't tell if the Delta Wing gets on the curb and then bounces into the 42, or
it didn't look like he had a lot of
hits the curb because he gets pushed down to the right.
Didn't look like he had a lot of room on the right there. It didn't look like he was greedy with the track, but we'll see it again. He looks to the left at the traffic.
Turns down towards the apex. Car has a little understeer, but this is where the damage is done, literally. Perhaps day over for the 42, but still a long way to go from Petit Le Mans. Back at Road Atlanta, where the shadows are growing long across the long backstretch. Bob Varsha, Calvin Fish, and Dorsey Schrader with you now as we continue our Fox family of networks coverage of the 17th annual Petit Le Mans, powered by Mazda. Coming to the end of our 10th yellow flag. Just about ready to go green. You're on board with Max Angelelli and the number 10 Konica Minolta car. From Wayne Taylor Racing, our Dodge Viper SRT halfway leader here in the 10-hour Petit Le Mans.
See him looking in the mirrors there. He was looking for the competition, waiting for that pace car to go. We are green.
Got Sebastian Bourdais right behind him in the draft, and of course Scott Dixon also ready.
Oh man, 3 great champions nose to tail in 3 terrific race cars. As you see, the field now a mix of the prototype Challenge, GT Le Mans, GT Daytona classes, plunging downhill through the S's.
Remember, Max Angelelli hadn't seen any race action since Watkins Glen's 6-hour race back in June, so he's probably a little race rusty, but he's up to speed in the night practice on Thursday pretty quickly.
These guys need to settle down a little bit and get a race going here. It's almost halfway through. Oh, it is halfway through, and all we've had is 10 cautions already.
It's kind of appropriate. Here are 3 contending cars right up front, driven by 3 guys who do not do the whole season. Yeah. Getting back to what you said at the top of the show, Dorsey, all they want is a race win at the Petit Le Mans.
And that might be why we see the aggressive nature of this race, the way it's turning out right now, because there are so many guys in here. The championship's been decided. It's go for broke now.
Yeah, they want that big win. This has really turned into one of those classic North American endurance races, along with Daytona, along with Sebring, and the 6 hours at the Glen. They want this final jewel in the crown this year.
Two Chevrolet V8s and a Ford Turbo EcoBoost.
Spoke to Mike O'Gara, the Ganassi team manager, about drafting Scott Dixon in this weekend. He said it's great to get a fresh perspective on the car. Certainly Mamo and Scott Pruitt give that team great feedback all season long. But you bring in Scott Dixon, he says, well, I'd improve this, I'd improve that. They look across at their teammates and they are not in agreement. It's just you kind of get in a rut, Dorsey. You're comfortable with the car and you just deal with something. A new driver will say, hey, you need to fix this, make it better.
You know what happens is you make these subtle changes as the year goes so on, and you get used to the car as those changes are made. You don't feel it anymore. And then the new guy comes in, he feels it. Look at this, they're beating up on Max.
Traffic management. Bourdais wants the lead of this motor race. Angelelli, nice patience there to thread the needle and maintain the lead.
There's 3 of the 4 classes in the race represented in one picture. Prototype, Prototype Challenge, and GT Daytona.
These guys are about a third of the way through this fuel stint. With that yellow flag, that'll extend how much time they can actually spend on the road before they need to hit pit lane once again to a normal green flag run. But plenty of time left in this stint, so they're going to be out there for quite a while.
The headlights aren't particularly useful right now, except to let the guy ahead know that you are a big, powerful prototype coming up behind him. But when the sun goes down, we'll have a couple of hours of racing in darkness here at Road Atlanta, and those headlights will be key.
Got smoke.
Just run 1-2, but that second one has got some damage on the front end.
That's Nick Tandy. You see the bodywork flapping. The smoke is tire rub, I believe.
Yeah, it is, Bob, and that's really bad for Aero. That front end is compromised, and the wind is buffeting it, pushing it up against the tire, making a big shake, and that won't be pleasant to drive.
Remember that car, Dorsey, was really patched together after that pit lane incident with Patrick Pilet behind the wheel, and I think it's just letting go. I think that split is getting too close to the ground now, causing that porpoising and buffeting on the front end of the race car, but he seems to still want the lead of this race.
And you had a look at that number 4 bright yellow Chevrolet Corvette. That is for position. First, second, and third in GT Le Mans. Michael Christensen, Nick Tandy, and Tommy Milner running nose to tail.
Great to see that yellow Corvette number 4 come alive. They've had a tough season, really struggled with the setup. Another problem for a PC car.
Oh, that's right in the front straightaway, guys. That's backed in on the front straight concrete wall.
This 38 car has had nothing but problems today, on and off the racetrack, in and out of the pits. Those guys must be exhausted, and we're barely past halfway. 11th caution flag of the race now waves.
Jerome Mee doesn't have much experience in this type of car, been drafted in as the 3rd driver for this weekend, has just got caught out somewhere.
But he's had more track time, ironically, than the guys he's driving with. He competed in one of the prototype support races for the 10-hour Petit Le Mans. Now, just before we saw that tire smoke from Nick Tandy's Porsche, look at this.
He gets up on the curb in a side check. I don't know if that's the same, if that's what caused the smoke. It probably didn't do any good to the bodywork, though.
Yeah, that was the 912 actually that was getting into that traffic there up on the curb.
Now here's what brought out the yellow flag.
He's just wide.
Oh, and you saw the Falcon GTLM Porsche go by, just dodging the spinning prototype challenge machine. Well, with that, the safety car will be sent back out to neutralize the field, and we'll see what strategic decisions are made in the pits. We'll be back with more of the 17th annual Petit Le Mans powered by Mazda on Fox.
Caution out at Road Atlanta for the 11th time here in the 17th annual Petit Le Mans. It was Jerome Meese with the problem onto the front straightaway, got wide, took out one of the signboards, and then looped the car back across the racetrack to the inside wall. And Bob Varsha said a few moments ago that car has had nothing but problems throughout the day. It's been a part of a couple, at least 2 of the full course cautions that we've had. I think maybe even 3.
It was a close call for the number 17 Falcon Porsche. I'm going to look in to see if maybe the Kardashians aren't driving the car as well as a sponsor.
Well, while they go to work on the 38 and try to make repairs, let's check in with Andrew, who's with somebody who's working hard to try to stay in the championship hunt in GT Daytona.
Certainly is, but let's first congratulate Towns on Bell on a fine Tickler.
Thank you.
So you've been leading the class, you've got your new boy out there at the moment, he's been hit a couple of times, a big battle going on.
Yeah, it's been a tough day. I mean, we started 12th, I got to the lead. Bill got hit a couple times, got a puncture, we went a lap down, but our Revo Ferrari, I mean, the handling's been great. We're a little bit handicapped, but so far we've been very consistent on the Continental tires, and you know, still a long ways to go. I'm hoping to get back in here and see if we can't get back on the lead lap.
You're going to get back in this car. Are you going to get back in an Indy 500 car?
Yeah, I'll probably be back. No better place to be than Indianapolis in May, but right now it's about the Petit Le Mans. I'm told we've already won the North American Endurance Championship, but we want to win the overall. Long ways to go. We'll see what we can do.
Talk about you moving up a category next season.
Yeah, you know, we've had lots of discussions. It's a really interesting time in GT racing with, you know, rules clarity, more manufacturers wanting to get in. And we're with a great race team now and love being with Ferrari. So I'll just have to see what happens around the holidays.
Thanks very much. I think I want to get one of those hats to you, Matt Yoakum.
And we're down in the Wayne Taylor Racing pit stall. And Wayne, your car is leading the 100th start for Wayne Taylor Racing. That's a special milestone. And your man is leading. Max is in it for a triple stint. What's he saying about the car at this point?
No, he's saying car's really good. Everybody seems to be having some sort of rear tie issue. That goes with the nature of the track and the heat. But no, he's pretty calm. Pretty calm. Car's good.
You know, 27 wins, 1 win this year. And you started out the year very special, having the opportunity to run with your kids. And when you look back to this year, what stands out to you most about the 2014 season?
Well, obviously driving with the kids. And then in Long Beach announcing my new partnership with Konica Minolta. They've really made the difference and helped us get to where we are today. And obviously Team Chevy. And just a great team, you know, and 2 kids that are pretty good, but are not competitive against each other. And in this form of racing, it's what you need.
Special race to cap off 2014, but looking ahead to 2015, is your entire package good, set for next season?
Yeah, I mean, everything's go ahead. We've signed all our contracts for next year. You know, we're ready now. We just got to wait to see what sort of changes may or may not come in the rules. Yeah, that's all we have to do. But it would be really nice to win here.
Have you contracted any drivers for the 2015 season yet?
The same 3 that were there this year.
All right, thanks, Wayne. Guys?
Surprised by any of that?
No. And,
sometimes it's in what is not said that the real message is. No, I mean, I'm happy for him, aren't you, Tommy? I mean, he works so hard. This is a team that doesn't have resources outside the resources they put from sponsors. It's a proper race team.
Yeah, and they're one of the few teams that has everything put to bed for next year. You know, the number 23 Porsche has announced they'll be back in GTD. The Seattle car, the heart of racing. And so now obviously the number 10 car, but there's a lot of people, everyone's trying to come back, but very few of them have all the pieces in place.
When you're right on board with Dane Cameron right there, the question is, where will he go next year? But these great shots, don't forget, you can go to foxsports.com/motor for live onboard video streams of the TUDOR United SportsCar Championship Series from today's race. Do it right now. You'll get shots like these and even more. It's silly season time. There are a lot of questions, a lot of stories floating around down in the paddock. Honda news and notes. Let's take a look at those for the 17th running of Petit Le Mans. Lots of questions, and we talked about the party that Justin's going to help MC in New York City. That was a great one last year. I'm sure it'll be spectacular again this year with you
should
there,
see
Justin.
what I'm wearing.
It just really, really scares me, and it's not that far away to Daytona, and especially the Roar. And then a name like Jochen Mass, named as the Grand Marshal for the Rolex 24 for next year. Good
Fantastic
stuff.
to see Jochen, you know, his career being recognized. There's a trend on the historic racing scene that as these guys at Amelia Island, he was honored at Pebble Beach, he was honored. I interviewed him at Pebble Beach, and so he's going to be Grand Marshal. That is absolutely fantastic. And of course, they get these drivers, their careers are suddenly remembered with the respect they're due. And of course, what a way to kick it off for the 2015 schedule next year.
Yeah, you're looking through it. Lime Rock back on the schedule there, and it's going to be awesome. The series did a great job of releasing that schedule pretty early this year, and I think that shows consistency and stability for the series to be able to line that schedule up and say, here it is, boys, make your plans.
And that was one thing we didn't have as we look at the 911 here. They're going to work now they have the yellow to try to shore up that left front that was being eaten away. Obviously, it wasn't hurting him too much time-wise, but that was going to just only get worse.
Yeah, it started falling apart. We saw the big contact earlier with the Schmazel at pit out, and it was one of those things that I was surprised that it ran as well as it did, but eventually I think the tape and the bare bond kind of wore away, and especially with the high speeds down the back straightaway here, eventually it was going to take its toll.
It's amazing how tough these cars are. You know, last year Ryan Dial took a big hit, got put off by a P2 car going down in the S's and slammed the barriers there and ran, you know, fastest lap of the race. After that, when they were pushing the car, and look at another car having trouble in the pits, coming off the jacks.
We're seeing, I said it earlier, unforced errors starting to come in from team. We talked at the top of the show, this is hard on everybody. Hard on the mechanics, hard on the strategists, hard on the engineers, and the drivers as they come down to the start-finish line to take the green, they're just thinking about racing.
Wow, I mean, I don't know what to say about that, except Angelelli was on it early, and my question was it too early? Was the safety car in pit lane?
Well, they basically told these guys they can go when they come under the bridge. So now whether he probably should have let the safety car get a little further ahead, but that was pretty close. Now,
all three of them went though, Tommy. He went. They went.
If the guy in front goes, you're not going to sit there. So Angelelli out in front, Sebastian Bourdais, then Scott Dixon. Three big names and three very fast cars up front.
Now, something significant happened as when the last guys were in the booth. Right as we went to break, I noticed one of the Vipers was in front of the GTLM Porsche, and I wasn't sure which one it is. Now I see that Ryan Hunter-Reay is now back on the lead lap. Now they've changed out for Kuno Whitmer, but the 91 car back on the lead lap.
Let me ask you this. You've got Max Angelelli out in front, followed by Bourdais and Dixon, two guys that have an entire IndyCar series in 2014 underneath their belt. We understand that 3 Corvettes going to have to serve a penalty for speeding on pit road. The point is, Max Angelelli's run 2 races this year. Bourdais and Dixon have run the entire IndyCar series as well as some endurance events. How well is Max going to hold up?
Well, yeah, I was going to say a triple stint. This is a physical place. You see this long right-hander is hard on the neck. You know, the power steering makes the wrists and arms not a big deal, but the neck can be. So a triple stint, you can work out all you want in the gym, but it's really hard to recreate the exact forces and the way your head is under load and it has to turn. So guys that are racing week in, week out don't have the soreness and the fatigue. Max is a tough guy, so I mean, he'll get it done. But whether he'll be feeling how crisp at the end is another question. But the cool temperatures helps a lot.
But what's his job? I mean, obviously his job is to run up front, but isn't his job to hand a car over to Ricky and Jordan for the final stint? You see the 3 serving their drive-through penalty there, I should say. But I mean, I look at it that way, and I would think they'd be on the radio saying, Max, if you just keep them close and you stay in first is great, but don't give in to pressure and make a mistake. Second, third, just hand the car off. That's what we need you to do.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. Both from a fatigue and a pace standpoint, his job is to kind of fill in a space in the middle of the race.
While Ricky and Jordan rest.
Yeah.
But believe me, at this, with the stakes that are up for now, if his pace started to drop, one of the boys will get a wake up and told to come to pit lane. You have to. A triple stint is pushing it by 1 stint by most people's calculation on this track. It's just, you know, sometimes it's not that, you know, we'll see how he does. If he is not mentally going to slow down.
Oh, no.
He's so fast and he's so aggressive.
But I've always said you could take a Major League Baseball player and have him only play a couple of baseball games. He's not going to hit that 95-mile-an-hour fastball the way he used to. Max just hasn't had as much seat time as these other guys have. Be patient, do what you can do, but make sure you've got something to hand over at the end of it, would be the point. Looking back into GT Daytona, there's the number 23, leading the class right now in the hands of Alex Riberas. And just back behind him, the 94, the bright yellow BMW in the hands of Dane Cameron. Cameron trying to bring home a driver's championship. Gotta be impressed right now with Alex Job Racing, the 23 running well, Lee Keen running in 3rd. So Alex Job Racing has Porsche's 1st and 3rd. They run that heart of racing Porsche for the organization, and they run the WeatherTech Porsche for Cooper McNeil and the boys there, along with Lee Keen, the 22 and 23. And certainly Alex Job knows how to win endurance races and knows how to run Porsches.
There's the 22 and 3rd. It's still in the battle for the championship. He's going to have to obviously finish in front of the 94 if he has any hopes. A little bit of smoke there. Looks like tire rub smoke under those compressions. Must have some body damage.
Different classes working through. There's the Delta Wing, followed right behind by the 90. Then 2 prototype challenge cars. I believe the Team Falcon Tire Porsche is in there.
And this is where the traffic's an issue. You had a whole gaggle of prototypes. You see the one car get around. Now, sometimes they'll try to stick a nose down right there. It looks like Keen actually turned in maybe a little bit early to discourage that.
I think a lot of times, as the slower class driver, you've got to take away any thought of a faster car trying to stick a nose in there through the S's. And the drivers of the prototypes have been told, if there is contact in the S's and you're the trailing car, you're going to get nailed for a penalty because there's no excuse for it. You know you can't fit too wide through there. Just don't do it. But you can talk all you want.
At this point in the race, you can do that. But if those guys are in their own battles, and so as we get into the closing hours, you have that. But also, if you got a shot to win the Petit Le Mans or a title, obviously the PC title's already settled, but you can't, you got to choose which are you going to go for.
Man, it is intense right now. The 56 BMW right on board with Dirk Mueller right in front of him. Brian Sellers. You see the blue back half of the 911 GT3 RSR Porsche in front, shod with Falcon tires. The only car in the series that runs that manufacturer of tire. It's the tire manufacturer that actually owns the team. They won here last year, and they're putting on quite the show here this weekend. They're having a good run, but for Flying Lizard Motorsports, who has won here in the past, well, they haven't had a good weekend in either the 35 or the 45. For more on Flying Lizard, let's go to Andrew.
I'm with my favorite South African, Dion van Malki. Tough day for you. I think you're down 10 to 11, something like that.
Yeah, it's been a pretty tough race, but our Audi R8 LMS is running great. You know, we've got a lot of great support from Fly Lizard Motorsport and PR Newsbar, E-Silicon, so we're still fighting hard. The car is running well. Need a little bit of luck, a little bit of strategy, but we're not giving up anytime soon.
You know how to win these races. You've had a lot of success in long-distance races like this. How difficult is it now to keep your motivation up?
It's not difficult at all. I'm a race car driver, a competitor. Every time I'm in the car, I want to be the fastest driver out there and most consistent. So you look down as put your best foot forward and keep competing.
This Audi, I mean, it's quite a different sort of race car compared with what you were used to before this season.
Yeah, the Audi and the Porsches are very different. They make the grip in very different ways. It's tough on the team to figure out how to set up the car for not just one lap, but over a stint as well. But we rolled out at Daytona and we're fast right away. We've been fast throughout the season. We're not where we want to be in the championship, but you know, it's been a pleasure running here in the TUDOR Championship, and we hope to be back next year and keep fighting and hopefully win some races and keep battling for a championship.
As they say in South Africa, laka.
Yeah, laka. It's a good time for sure.
Laka cracker.
Saw problems for the 911, I should say, earlier on track. We just saw him on pit road in the penalty box. When you have a problem on pit lane, everybody wants to help, and that was the problem, Tommy. Too many men over the wall working on the 911.
But what was quite interesting, he came out just in front of Brian Sellers there, who I have to say has been carving his way through this traffic in most excellent style. And you saw Brian's frustration with the GTD car because holding him up down through the S's. But we were just talking about that, Tommy. The protocol through the S's is once you're there, patience, stick your nose in the right place it's supposed to be. It doesn't matter whether you're the fastest prototype in the world or the slowest car. There's a sort of a right away there. But we're seeing some sort of good driving by the PC guys here right now, because these GT cars are GTLM cars are very quick through under their brake into the corners, and they're giving them the room. So I don't know whether it's sort of settled down again in the middle of this race.
You called it during the stop, unforced errors, and that extra stop has put 911, the 911 car, a lap down.
Mistakes, they're starting to appear here. Fatigue on the part of the drivers and the crew. Is that it? We'll find out. Max Angelelli leads from Road Atlanta and the 17th annual Petit Le Mans. We'll be back for more right after this. And the laps continue to tick by here at Petit Le Mans. Brian Till, Tommy Kendall, and Justin Bell with you. The 17th running of Petit Le Mans, and Max Angelelli out in front right now. And we talked about the fact that he's only driven a couple of races this year as he stepped out of the car on a full-time basis. Ricky and Jordan Taylor, the full-time pilots of the number 10 from Wayne Taylor Racing. But right now, Angelelli showing his year's worth of experience of working through traffic. Has not put a wheel wrong, but traffic right now has brought Sebastian Bourdais right up to the rear wing of that number 10 Corvette. Through turn 5. From Dane Cameron's onboard camera, you could look up ahead and see the battle. And Bourdais in that red, white, and blue number 5 from Action Express, really putting the pressure on Max Angelelli.
You made a great point about, keeping in mind what his role is here, and it's tough for a guy that used to be the go-to guy, got pushed to a secondary role, now a tertiary role. And but obviously to get a win in Petit at this point would be huge for him. But the natural instincts where your ego gets engaged and you don't want to let Bourdais by. You're like, hey, look, I held off that 4-time IndyCar champ for 2 hours. But it'll be interesting to see how hard he's willing to push that.
And I know it's cool today, ambient, but in these cars, Justin, it's anything but cool. The engine right behind you. There's no air really moving around.
Radiators up front.
Yep.
As a GT driver, I'll say, what discomfort do they suffer? Nothing compared to us. But yeah, I mean, obviously, it's the closed confinement, really, Brian, that does it. The lack of circulated air, even though they have fans and everything they need and water to hand. But it is the GT guys that are really dealing with the heat issue far greater, even though they have the temperatures monitored and controlled and they have to keep them under control. It's the fight right now, the heat is in the head. And Max Angelelli's head can run at a higher temperature than most drivers I've ever seen on track. So and I mean that in a positive and negative way. It's the truth. He's Italian and he goes for it. But right now, the decades of experience, as you say, are paying off. Sebastian isn't going to risk it either. Don't think he's going to pull something. I mean, if he has the chance through the traffic, and if he has the chance to use it to his advantage, like the BMW in front of it, you see, that's enough to make Max check up. Sebastian's able to get a better, clearer run out of here, but they are going to be 2 abreast coming down into the last turn.
If he doesn't, he's going to see. If he doesn't get through there, you're going to have a reverse of the situation that put Ricky into the lead at the start.
Absolutely.
You know? And so the guy coming first, the guy coming second can kind of lay back and try to make his move a little more. It's harder being in front, is what I'm trying to say. But
well, you're punching the hole.
Yeah,
you're punching the hole through traffic, and when they see you go by, they're a little more aware of what's coming next.
And you also can't, when you get bottled up, say going into 5, you can't just take it easy and roll back and try to roll through. The guy in front has to always be pressing. He can't lay back and try to time his gap. He's got to try to make his gap. They passed the 45 Flying Lizard a bit ago. We need to update that penalty on the 45 was rescinded because that contact with the 90 took place during the waiver round. I still don't think there's any reason, even if the 90, doesn't, to be passing someone at the last second right there. I mean, it was on the waiver round, which changed it a little bit, but I still think, and I'm getting lit up on Twitter about it, but I still think there's no excuse to be that committed on the waiver round. Even if a guy, is one of the leaders of the race. And here the 912 comes in, our class leader in GTLM.
There will be a driver change. I could see him unplugging his drinks bottle. You never really unplug the radio until you're stopped, Tommy, in case they give you a go, don't stop. But he was unplugging things on his helmet as he pulled up. And yes, there is a driver change.
So Michael Christensen climbing out. They'll go to work. This car showing some battle scars as well. And I think almost everybody has, especially in GT. We chronicled it earlier. Some of the hardest fought racing in GTLM has been on pit road, especially to the red light at pit out.
But doesn't that show how close the cars are on track, actually? That they're coming in other than this.
You've got to find it wherever you can.
Yeah. And unfortunately, with that red light situation at pit lane exit earlier, a process I'm sure they're going to have to review as they are a lot of the regulations for next year, just to make the racing even better.
I'll tell you another Porsche that has run well today is the 58 in the GT Daytona category from Snow Racing. Jan Halen, Madison Snow doing a great job. We talked earlier about how they're a partnership now with Dempsey Racing. They run under the same tent. I think that engineering and that meeting of the minds and having 2 cars and 2 bits of data, Andrew, has really helped that 58 team in Madison Snow and Jan Halen.
Yeah, I'm with Madison. Madison, this new combination here of the 2 teams working as one, that's really helping you, I think.
It's been a great help. I mean, there's so much more help on the track, but also off the track with the sponsors and meeting new people, and the support that we get from the entire team has been great.
Now, you were the young kid that raced with his bar, all this stuff, but you've got that behind you now. You're being seen, for what you are, a super racing driver rather than the youngest kid.
Thank you. I mean, I'm just trying to go out there and do what I can. I mean, we've been running a great race. The Dempseys put together a great car. Wright Motorsports is helping tune it, and we've been fast all race.
Are you still at college? You're still doing education, or are you just being a racing driver?
I'm going to college. When I'm home, I'm going to college. Then I take a couple of breaks for the weekends and for the races. But for the next couple of months, I'll be doing straight college.
Well, this is a really tough battle in GTD. It could go any way yet.
Oh, sorry, what did you say?
Thanks very much. Let's go back to the bit.
Indeed, a tough battle. Madison Snow, one of these young guns like Andrew talked about that we watched for years in the IMSA GT3 Cup, presented by Yokohama, and just an impressive young man.
Is it just me, or he looks like a young Rowan Atkinson? He does, doesn't he? Yeah, he really does.
Who?
Mr. Bean.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's okay. That's actually a compliment, Madison. Thank you very much. You know what? It's not. If you go on for the same level of wealth, and he does have some of the most beautiful cars in his collection in the world.
Oh, does he?
Oh my gosh, yeah. He bought me my first beer actually when I was 14. Okay, I broke laws in several countries just then.
Can we be involved in that? I don't want to be.
It was 30 years ago.
Yeah. All right. Statute of limitations has run out.
Yeah.
This race has not run out. We still have 4 hours and and 15 minutes to go.
See the blacked out stripes, the oil on the back of the 93 Viper. We saw them working on the back of that car. We have an update. They were working on the transmission, so that oil is kind of a telltale sign that it's losing some fluid. Don't have a report as to whether it's still giving them any trouble, but you know, these cars, the 93 and 91, are keeping an eye on both the 3 Vet, which just got a drive-through penalty, and then they're also trying to battle those Porsches for the manufacturer's title.
Max Angelelli leading overall. Tommy Milner now takes his Corvette, the number 4, to the lead in GTLM. Alex Riberas in the 23 Porsche leads in GTD, and in Prototype Challenge, Frankie Montecalvo in the 52 up front. We've talked about some of the problems for the 07 Mazda a little bit earlier. The 70 still out there right now. Ben Devlin behind the wheel, Andrew.
Yes, he is, and he's just gone out. The team had quite a job scraping out all the little shards of rubber which have been thrown. Just look at this ball of rubber. It's falling apart now. Look, destroying the evidence, basically. It's incredible, because that adds weight. It destroys all sorts of things, so they just have to pull that out. Oh, and in the old days, we used to see it punching through the holes in the front mud guard situation. They used to have those louvers, and these bits of rubber used to punch the holes through there, but now they just have a great big hole, so it doesn't happen. But there's an awful lot of rubber here. There's a little bit of Georgia. There's a little bit of Georgia here.
And it does get hung up in the bodywork and blows through the louvers like we talked about. There's on board the number 70 with Ben Devlin behind the wheel. We talked about what an engineering project this is for Mazda and what they're using it for, but they're also using it for education. And they call it part of the STEM program. And if you're familiar with your schools around your area, they too will have a science, technology, engineering, and math project. And it's a great project to be involved with. It helps bring young kids along. And Mazda is certainly a part of that, utilizing their race car.
The STEM program, which stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math, is an outreach that Mazda is doing to the local high schools near the venues where we race at here in 2014. As soon as they see the race car, because we bring our Mazda SkyActiv car to each school, they light up. The first thing, wow, what's this cool looking object? We explain what we do, and their minds are just literally blowing.
It's given us an opportunity to take what the students are learning in their classroom content in the key classes of science and math, and shown them that what we're doing here in IMSA and the TUDOR United SportsCar Championship is absolutely relevant to what they're learning on a day-to-day basis. Mazda has always taken the approach in motorsports to give young people the chance to grow their careers in this business, primarily as drivers. I think what STEM has now shown us is that there's an opportunity to do the same things with future engineers, or we like to call them STEM superstars.
And just great stuff indeed. And Mazda being a part of that. Your 5 now is the new leader. Sebastian Bourdais has gotten past Max Angelelli. Angelelli, the black prototype, back towards the back of your picture, trying to work his way through traffic and get back up and take the fight back to Sebastian Bourdais. How did it happen? Turn 5. You ride on board with Max Angelelli, and there goes Sebastian Bourdais.
It wasn't
More
even
coming to you from Petit Le Mans.